Welcome to the Dark Ascent Podcast, where we enter into the deepest secrets of black magic and the left-hand path. This is episode 1, Are Demons Really Evil? To learn more about our work, please visit darkascent.org. Hi everyone, thank you for listening into our new podcast. My name is Melektoth, and I'm here with my wife Elinara.
Hi everyone!
And so today, this is our very first show, so we're very excited to get started.
Yes.
So we're starting out with a bit of a bang with a more controversial topic, especially for those who might not be so used to this material. But we're going to be talking about demons. Demons are pretty universally seen as evil, whether in the Judeo-Christian context or even in other cultures, and even in modern day in the New Age community or things like that, people almost universally see demons as evil spirits, or they outright don't believe in them. So when we come into the topic of black magic and the left-hand path, the obvious question is, are we dealing with demons? And if so, are those demons evil? Now, I've spent a bit of time now, dealing with demons, and it's actually something that has interested me for years. Probably about a little less than 10 years ago, I'd say. I was tempted to summon a demon and never really got around to it because the path I was on at the time made it a little too complicated. But once I got into black magic and I started learning about evocation, then demon summoning really became a lot easier. And I've done it quite a bit by now.
And I grew up very Catholic.
Oh, yes.
So demons are wrong no matter what. Period.
Yeah,
that's
much.
End of story.
And so, I've gotten to experience this quite a bit, so I'm speaking from experience, obviously. And it's a topic that is really hard to bring up because, again, people see them almost automatically. If you say demonic, if you say demon, oh, that's evil. So, but are they really? Now, the interesting thing that I've learned through my research about this topic is that demons are actually, in most cases, ancient gods from other cultures that have been demonized.
That was the thing that really fascinated me.
Right. So, let's say as Christianity or the Catholic Church or some other religion comes in and conquers a culture, especially in the case of the Catholic Church, they had one of two reactions to the ancient gods. Number one, they made some of them saints. Like I think Saint Bridget is one of those. I think there are a few others I don't remember right now. But many others were made into demons. Especially if you look at the portrayal of the deity Pan, with the horns and everything, that was kind of made into our popular depiction of Satan, right? So demons are almost always actually ancient gods from other cultures, and you can trace them back to older and older cultures where they had the same role, maybe in a more positive light than what other people will admit they have. For example, a love goddess might turn into a demon of lust and sexuality. I think Asmodeus is a perfect example of that.
The interesting thing about the word demon, and I'm sure you're going to get there,
yeah,
is demon means helper spirit.
Yeah.
Or good spirit.
Right. In ancient Greece, the word demon, I think it was actually pronounced like daimon or daemon or something, just meant spirit. And even good spirit, helper spirit. And there were two versions of those. There was one that was good, and there was one that was evil. So it was just sort of a spirit in general. And that was sort of perverted by, especially Christianity, maybe Judaism a bit, into purely evil. So just from a historical, cultural context, demons have not always been evil. Actually, at one point they were good. They were ancient gods, ancient deities. And it was just through religious indoctrination, religious dogma, that made them evil. Now, the other interesting thing, when you look at the left-hand path, what are we all about? We're all about not evil, not, sacrifice and weird things, not generally. We're all about rebellion. Maybe better said would be freedom. Okay, freedom, thinking for yourself, having knowledge, being able to choose your own path. These are all very demonic qualities. Why do I say this? Because if you look at even the Bible, look at the book of Genesis, look at the creation story. Who brought man knowledge? The serpent. Knowledge of good and evil. Like, why is that so bad? God didn't want them to have knowledge, right? So Satan, or the serpent, brought man knowledge, and then they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden according to the creation story. It's very similar parallel to Prometheus, who brought fire to mankind, and then Zeus wasn't so thrilled about that, so he chained him up and had an eagle peck away his liver forever. Very similar ideas. The gods didn't want mankind to have knowledge, to excel, to have technology, and so those who brought them these things were supposedly punished, cast out, chained up in some way. So very, very similar ideas between the two of these, right? And really, when you look at it, what the idea of Satan or any of the demons are all about is freedom and rebellion against the order of things, against the norm, and really just thinking for yourself. And a lot of the morality that, let's say, today's religions, especially Christianity, the Western religions, really all of them actually, it's not too different in Hinduism. The morality you see in these, the demons oppose, right? They are for absolute freedom, you choosing how you want to live your life. If you are, let's say, gay and your church says that's wrong, the demons are going to say, why is that wrong? You're free to be the person that you are. That's just an example. But they're all about freedom. Okay, so once you get past kind of the scary word, oh my gosh, it's demon, it's not so bad. Now, in another context, we have light and dark. And we have this mistake in popular spirituality of there's only light, there's no darkness. Okay, light and love and everything like that.
Nope, that's bogus.
Right. We have this idea there's only light, everyone's actually good inside, and that's it. And it reminds me of the Christian idea that, the greatest lie of Satan is to convince people that he doesn't exist. Okay? Well, people don't believe darkness exists. Now,
so true.
The left-hand path is all about darkness. And I will tell you that darkness absolutely does exist. It absolutely exists. And light exists. And they're both on a spectrum. They're both opposite forces. And they both stand for different things.
Neither are good or bad, right?
Right. Neither is good or bad. It's just light and dark. Okay, but when people will say, oh, there's no such thing as white or black magic, there's no such thing as good or... Well, there is no such thing as good or evil, but there's no such thing as light or dark. That's totally false. There is such a thing as darkness. Okay, and when you don't think so, you are really limiting yourself. And I find in the New Age community that a lot of people almost espouse certain dark ideals, such as serving yourself, doing what you want to do, but they almost have to justify it, which is a very right-hand path light thing.
For the highest good.
For the highest good of all, and well, as long as it serves mankind, and whatever. And
it's like they're starting to.
Right.
And they're like, maybe not.
It's like they see the appeal of the darkness, and they won't go there. Because, they have to stay on the light side. And there is no darkness anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there is light and dark, and there is a difference between the two. So, I'm doing a course right now introducing black magic to those who are new to my material. And in the first call, I gave an exercise to introduce people to darkness. Darkness is a real force. It is a real force you can come in contact with. And the types of experiences people had were amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
some people encountered certain demons.
I was just gonna say that, yeah.
Some people felt like they were at home. They felt peace. Okay, so this isn't like I said, evil and malevolent and things like that. No. In fact, a lot of demons are very, I don't know if I want to say kind, but very understanding, gentle beings in the right context. They won't mess around, but they're not evil.
So pretty much they're just like me.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, there is light and dark. And what are the differences between these two? So light is associated with the right-hand path largely. Right-hand path people will only deal with light. So light has to do with union with the divine, union with the all. If you think about Hinduism, it's like enlightenment or moksha, giving up the self, killing the ego, so that you can unite with the whole, with everything. That's light. It also has generally a pretty strict moral system. Any organized religion today will tell you this is how you should live. Okay, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And that's very light. Because you are having to conform to God or to the universe or to the divine, not the other way around. So that's light. Okay, it doesn't matter what you want, it matters what God wants. And so, you don't see people praying for, let's say, money because that's selfish. It's whatever God's will is perfect. Yeah. Right?
That really was damaging for me.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up.
Right, for healing especially.
Yeah.
And so, you don't see people praying for or even doing magic for the types of things that they need because that's selfish. Now, that's the right-hand path, that's light. Okay. On the left-hand path, in the darkness, it's the opposite. Okay. Notice that light isn't necessarily good, it's just the things I described it as. Darkness, or the left-hand path, is all about you. What you want. You are the supreme being. Okay? You are God, basically, or are quickly becoming God. It's all about you becoming your own individual, and it doesn't matter what anyone else wants. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be selfish if you don't want to be. There's no requirements. It just means that you get to live exactly the way you want to live. If you want to help other people, you can help other people. That's not forbidden, or there's nothing forbidden. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But it's all about you and what you want to experience and how you want to live.
And it's taking power. It's taking power, not being ashamed of using your power that you were given.
So,
that was innate in you.
Exactly. So if you want money, you get money. You do magic for money. You pray, not pray. You don't pray because who are you going to pray to? There's no one higher than you. Okay, and I know this concept will seem really weird to certain people, but there's no one higher than you. You are it. Okay, so you don't pray, but you do magic. You imprint your will upon the universe to get money or to get a relationship, to get love, to get healing, whatever it is. So all of that is totally up to you, how you want to live. And you realize that you have the power to do exactly what you choose. Okay, so the left-hand path, or darkness, is all about building up that power, transforming yourself to become who you are. Okay, and in some senses there are similarities because it is a lot about stripping away the lower levels of ego, so to speak, to become your God self, to become truly who you are. So there are some similarities, but the essential aim of light and dark are totally at odds. So when someone says they walk the middle path, when someone says there's no such thing as white or black magic, that's totally untrue. You can't live for God and for yourself at the same time. So, in fact, it reminds me of, ironically enough, something Jesus says, that you can't have two masters. You can't serve two masters. Yeah. The light wants God to be your master. The dark wants you to be your master. And that's it.
That's I like that.
Yeah. And so, I know we're not talking about demons specifically right there, but that's leading up to that. So the way I see it, there is a light force and there is a dark force. All right. And there are beings of the light and there are beings of the darkness. So who are the beings of the light?
Angels.
Angels, yes. The beings of the light are angels. And angels, now, funnily enough, black magicians can and sometimes will work with angels. Not all of them do, but some will. But angels will universally be for the highest good, and they will want to help, and, they will be about your spiritual growth. They will not curse someone. They will not harm someone, that kind of thing. So there are certain circumstances in which angels can be helpful, but they are beings of light. Beings of darkness are then demons. They embody all the ideals of darkness. Okay, they are, in my view, literally made from darkness.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so that's why, one of the people in that course had that experience of a demon. I don't know if she realizes that it's a demon yet, so I'm sorry if you're listening to this. Hope by the time you listen to this, you'll know it.
I was going to say.
Yeah. But I don't know if she realizes right now it was a demon, but it is. Because when you enter into darkness, that's what there is there, demons. Now, there are other beings, there are elementals, there are deities, there are nature spirits, all sorts of things that are sort of a mix. They're not totally light or totally dark as angels and demons are. But in my view, demons are totally dark. Again, that does not mean totally evil. It just means they embody the ideals of darkness. They will not tell you, oh, you shouldn't hurt someone, and you shouldn't do a curse, and you shouldn't want something for yourself. They will never tell you that.
I feel like darkness is kind of the most natural expression, and I know you kind of need both, or that both, happens, but, before any creation happened, it was dark.
Exactly, yeah.
So I feel like darkness came first.
Right, and that's a really good point, because, there had to be light at some point. Light had to be created. Yeah. What was there before light was created? There was dark.
Right.
So this is, to me, the oldest of existence.
I agree.
Beyond existence, beneath existence. And therefore, to me, more powerful. And
I agree.
I've heard that when you work with darkness, your desires manifest far more quickly.
Well, yeah, because you're creating them from nothing.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
And the very first thing in the Bible, let there be light. It doesn't say, let there continue to be darkness.
Yeah, right.
My point is, you know that it's then dark, because why would you say light?
Right, if it was the other way around, it would be light and you would say, let there be darkness.
Yeah.
That's preposterous. There was darkness first. And mankind tends to be afraid of the darkness, right? For whatever reason.
I used to be so afraid of the dark.
Yeah. So it's sort of a normal response, because it holds things that we might be uncomfortable with or afraid of. But, yeah, demons are of darkness. Now, just some misconceptions. Okay, I already said they aren't evil, and I'll continue to reiterate that. They're not evil, but, these beings, you would be surprised how they are, what their personality is like. Some of them are pretty intense and overwhelming, but they generally do not intend harm unless they are set out by another magician to harm. Now, right. If I call up a demon and say, hey, go harm such and such a person, they will absolutely go and do that. But on their own, they want to help magicians.
Yeah.
Okay. They generally want to help magicians whom they respect. Respect is a big thing with them. And so, that's just one misconception. They are not evil, and they're not going to try to drag you off to hell or something. That's not, because, again,
what's that play?
Right. Because, again, they want your freedom. Okay. Because that's who they are. They are freedom. Okay. Knowledge, that kind of thing. So, again, they're not evil. Something else that people tend to think is that they're really low vibrational and they're just really angry and negative and fear-based, and they feed off your fear. No, actually, that's a different being entirely. Those are parasites, and that's a lot of times when people have poltergeist activity or when they are really depressed, there's a spirit around. These are just little parasites, and they're like really low level. What I mean by that is really basic, simple beings that just feed off your fear. Those are not demons. Demons have much better things to do than to cause you fear. I mean, really far better things to do, right? So they're not like really low-level dark, or well, they are dark, but low-level negative vibrational entities. That's not who they are at all. Okay, so they don't want to enslave your soul or any other silly ideas like that. Again, freedom. They want freedom. So enslaving your soul, totally against freedom. I mean, that's just silly.
There's definitely the Christian argument that it's a farce. Like they say about freedom, that they want you to be free and it's a farce, but they really want you to serve them.
Sure. Well, and that actually brings me to my next point. So thank you for reminding me of it. Okay, so working with demons, there are two different things here. There's working with demons, and there's something called demonolatry. And demonolatry is the worship of demons. Now that is the most preposterous to me thing, because they don't want to be worshipped. They, yes, they are gods, but so are you. And I have literally had them tell me, look, we don't want worship. Okay, we just want you to be free. We represent freedom. So they do not want worship. They want freedom, knowledge, that kind of thing. Your expansion, your evolution spiritually. But, you go and try to start worshiping these beings, a right-hand path being like a god or something will totally accept your worship. But a demon will not. That's not what they want. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't ways that you give them energy to kind of serve in your life more strongly, and that helps them. There are offerings that we can give to demons. This is not a form of worship. You might light incense for them. You might give them chocolate or fruit or roses or something like that, or even blood, yes. And that's just to kind of give them energy. They take energy from that. They can serve in your life more strongly that way. It's kind of a two-way street. They're doing something for you. You're doing something for them. It's not worship. It's not, oh, almighty demon, take this offering from me. You're unworthy servant. No, they will step all over you if you go doing that kind of thing. And they will. If they think that you are beneath them, if you look up to them and down on yourself, they will step all over you. So I'm not saying they're like absolutely benevolent beings. They will step all over you if you let them. Not because, that's inherently how they are, but if they think you are lower than them, then they will take advantage. Okay, so
I see them as allies.
Yeah, they're allies.
But also they serve me, really.
Right. In fact, there was a book I just read that was channeling a demon Azazel, and he literally said, here is the demonic hierarchy: the operator, the magician, and everything else. Mm-hmm. Okay, everything else. Every other demon underneath the magician. The magician is the top. The magician is the top of the food chain. Yep. Is God in that moment that he's calling upon them. So, but they also won't take kindly to you like binding them by different god names. This is the right-hand pathway of doing things like calling on angels to force the demons to appear. No, you don't. That's disrespectful. So it's like they will happily serve you. They will happily help you if you do it in a respectful way. If you don't make yourself look weak, but you also don't try to, put them down either. If you see them as allies, obviously you are the supreme being, but they are serving you. They're far more powerful. Also, they are far older. They have far more knowledge, and they can help you in so many ways. So, they will absolutely help you if you treat them in the right way.
It reminds me of, a company. You're a director somewhere,
Right.
And, you tell people to do things, but you don't say, I'm going to go to the head of corporate and blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah. Because you are the head.
No, but like if you're like a manager or something.
Sure, yeah.
I want to go to the CEO, or something.
Exactly. So they will respect you if you deserve respect, if you know you deserve respect, and they will help you in any capacity. They each have specializations, But so my own experiences, look, I want to make it personal. So first of all, 2 years ago, I started working with Hades. Now he's not technically a demon, but he's actually the form of a demon, the mask of a demon. And that's just at the time what I was able to let into my reality, because I didn't really believe in demons at that time. So, Hades showed up, the mask of, I found out to be Abaddon. And he helped me immensely.
Oh my gosh, your life did a 180.
My life did an absolute 180, and he didn't make me agree. And I asked him, look, Hades at the time, I called him, do you want offerings? No, just apply my advice. Okay. I don't know if it was a little bit of an upfront investment or what it was, but just totally changed my life in just weeks and months.
Because he knew you were going to do this.
And he led me to the left-hand path.
Yeah.
And then once I started working with demons, who was the first one? Was the first one Lucifer?
No, Clownek.
Clownek is the demon for businesses and money and that kind of thing. So that was the first. And then and he helped me in a lot of ways. And then I think Lucifer was next. And then King Paimon and Belial. And
that was it.
I think that was it, actually, yeah, so far. So Lucifer is who I work with the most. And he has been instrumental in my life in turning things around, in helping me even just to create Dark Ascent, to create the course that I've created, to create the things that are upcoming in 2019.
There's a lot of stuff.
And I mean, just, before I started working with them, I was in a really bad place. I was really depressed. I was very anxious. I mean, I've dealt with anxiety all my life, so that's nothing unusual. But I was very depressed. I felt stuck. I felt lost.
Yep.
And I started working with them. And, I mean, not even anything in, sure, there are lots of things I wished for or did magic for, evoked for. But plenty of things above and beyond have happened just because I'm working with them. I formed a pact with Lucifer to help me with my work. Okay. And the pact is that there's a lot to it, but he will ensure the success of my work and for prosperity to flow and all sorts of other things. And all of that has happened in spades.
Yeah.
Almost even before, like a week or two before I even signed it, I started noticing these things shifting. So it was like he was kind of proving he would do all this. And when I've been in a bind, I would call up, let's say, King Paimon. I had a little emergency with medicine a while ago, and I called up King Paimon and said, hey, I need this straightened out. There was I needed medicine. There was that day, and there was none of it in town. Everyone was out of stock, and I called up King Paimon, and he straightened it out in like 2 hours. And so, my life just totally, again, turned around in a matter of weeks and months. And so we're moving in just a couple of weeks. And we just signed the lease on our house, but everything just boom, boom, boom fell into place.
So fast.
And so that was a huge thing also. I mean, just countless things that just worked out, okay? That's the kind of thing. A black magician has limitless power. And with the right demonic allies, I know, I laugh at myself saying that. It's hilarious, and it sounds melodramatic, and it's absolutely not, because they are demonic allies, so how else should I say it? But with the right demonic allies, the black magician is unstoppable, okay, in whatever he or she wishes to do. So, again, they are not evil. They do not want your worship. They'll take offerings. They want to help if you are worthy of their respect. And that's who they are. They are beings of darkness. Okay. So someone might ask, okay, well, why don't I just work with angels? There are lots of good angels. Yeah, sure, there are lots of good angels. But look, it's a little beyond what can be explained easily. Here's all I can say. I had someone in my course the other day email me after I introduced everyone to darkness. And she said, this is home. Yep. I had such a feeling of peace. And I experienced the same thing. I came into darkness in the left-hand path. and experienced the greatest sense of peace and just like, this is it, that I've never felt in my life before.
Yeah, me too.
Right. That, I'm not saying that will happen to everyone. There are people who could not handle this path. It is not an easy path. But for certain people, for those made for the darkness, so to speak, created for the darkness, for those, it sounds really melodramatic to say those who have been chosen for the darkness, but I might go ahead and say that. But they will feel most at home there. I've been in all sorts of white light, right-hand path religions all throughout my life, and I just wandered from one to another because none of them felt right. I would try to make it fit. I would try to make it work. It never worked. Okay? And I even did like Wicca, neo-paganism, ceremonial magic on the right-hand path, all sorts of stuff. It never worked. Never felt right to me. And I never saw such miraculous results either.
The way you found what you found was so miraculous.
Oh, yeah.
Because it happened by accident.
Yeah. Oh, it did. Absolutely. So, why not angels? Because that's just not me. I mean, it is a decision, but it's more than a decision. It's an essence thing. It's who I am, that I've realized who I am. And so, I've always been attracted to darker things. I've always hated authority. Mm-hmm. That's very demonic. I don't want to say rebellious. I didn't really have a rebellious thing as a teenager, but I always wanted to be different.
You did it very quietly.
I did very quietly. Quiet rebellion. I always wanted to be different. I was always attracted to darker things. Not evil things, just darker things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes Elinara would laugh at me because there would be a book we'd be reading and I would kind of get to really like the villain. Yeah. And, we had a kind of joke going for a long time that I was the Antichrist, just because I always liked dark stuff.
I always say that he's in perpetual darkness because he's blind.
I'm blind, yes.
Which is true.
I would like the villains, or if there was a demon character, I'd be like, oh, he's really cool. And so it was always just sort of there in the background, okay? And then it took me a long time. And I see these demons' influences in my life years later, but I see all throughout my life how they influenced me. I wasn't aware of it. Some people are aware of it from childhood, but I wasn't aware of it. But, I was told by a psychic years ago when I was a teenager, she said, you have beings of both light and dark who are just watching. Yep. I'm like, oh, great. At the time, I thought light was the way to go, so I was sort of freaked out by the dark aspect.
That's the one thing that she was right about.
That's the one that she was right about, yeah. So I was just always sort of drawn to it. So I believe that those who are made for darkness will find it, will feel the resonance, and will ultimately walk that path. And those who are not, will not, or will try and will fail. Because this is very real, and there are people who will try it and then run away screaming because it's super real. This is not fantasy, this is not fiction, it's very, very real. There are demons, and you can absolutely evoke them into a physical form that you can sense with your senses, and that's real.
And I'm visually impaired, and I could see it.
Yeah. Elinara was able to see when she did the invocation. So now I'm blind, so I experience it in different ways. But this is extraordinarily real. You'll experience things that you would think impossible, but it is not impossible, and it does happen. And so those who are made for this path will find it and will walk it. And so I firmly believe that regardless of how you feel about this content, that if you are listening to this, there is a very good chance that you are one of those. There's a very good chance that you are one of these, and that you are made for darkness, and that you may feel an appeal, even if it's a bit scary, to what I'm saying. So if that is the case, I do invite you to check out more of what I'm saying. Now, I mean, I don't know, you may be an adept black magician that's been on this path for years. I'm just speaking to those who just don't have any idea what I'm talking about, those who are new. I think there are a lot of those attracted to my material. So if that is the case and you are attracted to this, there is a very good possibility that you are made for it, that this path is right for you. And if that's the case, I do encourage you to visit my website at darkascent.org, because I do have a lot more about all of this on that website. So that's an introduction to demons.
Yes.
There's so much more that could be said, but that is an introduction to demons. And I figured we may as well start out with the most controversial topic, to start out with a bang, and really to kind of weed out who's ready for this material and who's not. So I appreciate everyone who lasted to the end of this episode, whether you think I'm totally nuts at the end, or whether you're intrigued, or whatever. I appreciate you listening to the end. And we will be doing these shows every 2 weeks, every other Friday. So I invite you to check us out in 2 weeks, in 2 Fridays from now. But if you want to see the show notes for this podcast, please visit darkascent.org/DA001. And you can see the show notes there, as well as some links to subscribe to us and so on. Again, I thank you for joining us, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.